Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
So Melissa, you're in Atlanta, is that correct?
I am. I'm actually trying to put my video on and it's not letting me for some reason. But yes, I arrived in Atlanta very, very early this morning. So I'm dragging a little bit today. Maybe it's best my video doesn't work.
All right, it's good that it's nice to see you here. Are you in Atlanta for a conference?
Just for an event, we're going to be presenting at a meetup group. It's called North Atlantic DevOps Group.
Nice.
So yeah, I intend to be mentioning a bit about what we're doing at the CDF during this event. So that'll be good.
Awesome. Good stuff. Hello, Tim.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Yay.
Hey. Nice to see you.
So we had a bit of a myth with our agenda today. I was expecting one more attendee. So let me pull up the notes here. I don't think we even have an agenda today. So this may turn into a very short meeting, but I do have one item I want to discuss at the very least. Bring up my screen. Sorry about that. I'm used to having multiple screens. So, okay, should be able to see our notes today. Kara, you were here for the last meeting. Do you want to give a quick summary of what went on for the meeting at the end of July?
Sure. We discussed the reference architecture, and we're looking for a good bit of input from the interoperability SIG. We think it should be really important and service the work that's done here should be serviced well within that reference architecture. I think there's a link to the deck in the notes from the last meeting on July 21st. Tim, do you have access to those meeting notes?
Yeah, I have them up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I was going to put it in the chat otherwise. Yes. So it's the reference architecture is really an attempt to bring together a lot of the more detailed technical work that's done in the individual SIGs and have a sort of a higher level view on CI/CD best practices, really. And it's come out of the best practices SIG, which is where discussion on the reference architecture will be continuing. And they may very well spin up a working group as well for that from out of that SIG. So if this is of interest to you, please do attend the best practices SIG meetings to discuss further on the reference architecture and how you can contribute. It should be a great contribution to the wider ecosystem. We're hoping it helps inform people more broadly about the benefits of CI/CD done well and ways to go about that, speaking to people from basically where they are, from their own position and their own point of view. So we're moving beyond, say, very technical teams and looking at how to approach a broader audience within I guess companies or wider systems. So it's not just speaking to developers.
Excellent. That's something I'm really excited about as well. I like to see that being pushed forward. So hopefully we can get more interaction there and engagement from the community on that too. I know everyone has like their individual use case scenarios and stuff that they are concerned with. So it's important that we pay attention to the real problems that we're trying to solve and make sure that we get those included as well. So cool. There were a couple of items that came up over the last couple of weeks. I've been approached twice by two new projects that would like to be considered for membership to the CDF. So I've been working with them on getting that process started for them. And one of those things is for them to present to our group. It makes sense for both of them. One of them is called J Releaser. And let me see if I can pull up the project here just so we can see it online. Okay, so they have a web page and everything set up. There's also a GitHub repo that is all open source that you can review. It is a really interesting project. I like it a lot because it solved a lot of just continuous relief or continuous release tasks, like announcing that a new release is out, posting, on social media, that kind of stuff, making sure that it's tied into GitHub, into your source control, make sure things are tagged appropriately. There's a lot of things that, it goes into a lot of details on what you actually have to do when you release something and get something. And for continuous delivery, obviously, that's something that we should be concerned with. So I spoke to the maintainer of this project. It's relatively new. However, he has been presenting this around to a lot of different conferences. You may have run into him in the past. His name is Andres Almaray. And I asked him if he would be interested in presenting to our group here. His date that would work best would be September 1st. So I'm going to throw that out there. And see if we can go ahead and put that on the agenda on September 1st. I think this is a good one, a good find. We need more, he does need more visibility on the project. We, more contributors, things like that. And this is a good start, at least, to get that part going. The second one, and unfortunately, I do not have the site for this. I believe the project is called Go SCM. And it is another project that is looking to be donated to the CDF. This is one that just came over the channels last week, so I'm looking a little bit more at it, but I'm sure they will be interested in scheduling a time as well. So I can take that as an action item to reach out to them and find out when they can best, what works for them as far as presenting. Cara, in the past, have we ever had two at the same time, or is that too much for a meeting?
It may be too much because we do want to leave room for discussions and give, proper space and time to each presentation. So,
Agreed.
I mean, you are now chair, so it's really your call. But both these projects are really interesting. The Go SCM, I actually have an issue on the repo inviting them to this thing from like years ago because it was being used in a number of projects that are part of the CDF. And it is something that we did have discussions with them about joining, but I think the project is, some time has passed, it's more developed, they have a wider range of contributors, things like that, and more momentum. It's a really nice time to reopen those conversations. So thank you very much, Melissa, for doing that. And J Releaser looks great. Thank you for giving me the hat tip. They're up on the landscape for the CDF landscape.
Awesome.
It definitely looks like a really interesting project. We are happy to support them, get more people involved in the project, bring them into our wider ecosystem, and certainly having them speak here sounds like a great idea. So thank you for all of it. Awesome work.
For the benefit of the recording later that will show up on YouTube, I just want to pull up the CD landscape or the CDF landscape page so everyone knows what that is, what it looks like. And this is the link to the GitHub
it's on
area.
that right. Yeah.
And this is the current version of the landscape. As you can see, there's quite a few on here. Obviously, this is not quite as overwhelming as like the CNCF landscape, which I sincerely appreciate. There's a little bit more, there's a focus here on projects that have to do with continuous delivery. And as you can see, JReleaser, since they reached out, I asked them to make themselves a part of the landscape so that we can start looking at where they might belong. This does not imply membership in the CDF or acceptance of the project. It's just an awareness of what's out there and getting people, giving them more information and resources to decide what tools they want to use in their own pipelines and stuff. So I find this really valuable. This is one of the first steps that a project would take to start, being considered for as a project being adopted by the CDF. So if you haven't, go check this out, see what's already on here and see if there's anything missing. I did get into a discussion the other day about build automation and wondered why Maven isn't on here. And that's just near and dear to me because I'm a Java person, but that might be something I'd like to add to this landscape.
Yes, and to that point, if you feel that a project, either one you're working on or one that you use a lot, should be on the landscape, please do make a pull request. It is, it's open source, it's an open repo. And being on the landscape, it is a good way to raise awareness of your project and your placement within the wider CI/CD ecosystem. And having your project on there is a really nice entry point to greater engagement within the CDF itself, but it's not necessary that the project then would go on to be a CDF project. So if you're thinking, well, I'm already, that's not for me, but nonetheless, it would be nice to be shown on the CDF landscape, to be shown to be part of this wider ecosystem and how you fit in. By all means, make a pull request. So.
Excellent. Go ahead and add that. I'll add the link in the notes so everyone knows where it is and knows where to look. So I'll add these. Again, I'll give myself an action item to reach out to GoSCM to find out when they can present. Other than those two items, I don't have anything else to discuss this time around. We have an outstanding item to get our stuff up on the best practices website. I know last month and the month before has been pretty crazy for a lot of us. So I'm looking forward to getting that done and having more of a discussion around that and what that looks like the next meeting. And we can do some of that chatting and stuff online too. We're not just reserved to this period of time when we meet. So we'll get more of a momentum behind that and get that part done.
Sounds great. Sounds really good.
All right.
If there's nothing else on the agenda, would it be, I have a couple questions. Would it be okay to ask those now, or would you rather do it offline off the recording?
Absolutely.
Sure. So I know I just kind of showed up here. I'm Tim Miller. I'm from a startup called Kusari, and we're focusing on supply chain security. So we've been present in a lot of the other SIGs, so SIG software, supply chain, tech, security, a couple of others. We've been working on an open source project called Fresca, which is a factory for repeatable, secure creation of artifacts. It's a bit of a mouthful. But to the landscape question, Fresca is basically a configuration and set of defaults for a different set of tools within the landscape. So Tecton chains, a couple others. I'm not sure exactly how it would fit into the landscape, as it is basically a way to configure them to work together. It's like an abstraction on top of a set of them. Is there someone I could talk to about that specifically, if that would even make sense in the landscape, or if it's too weird? Because from our perspective, there's cutting across these things and how to use them together is one of the big pieces that we've found a gap in, especially if you want the security and the ways that they all work together, which is why we were interested in this meeting, to actually still hit the goals that you're trying to achieve. So it's like a cross section of the landscape, so to speak, that's its own problem set. Who can I talk to about about that kind of a problem and how we could potentially fit in or not, if there's maybe just something else.
So I'm so glad you brought this up at the meeting. We actually ran a, Tim, welcome, by the way. Welcome to the Interoperability SIG. We're really happy you're here. Your project sounds like a very interesting project, good fit for the Interoperability SIG, good fit for the Software Security SIG, and we would like to have it on landscape. I'm Cara Delamark. I work at the CDF. And a few months ago, the beginning of the year, end of last year, we kicked off a sort of revamp of the landscape, but it was almost like we did the phase one. It was a bit of a cleanup and a little bit of a augmentation, but by no means are those categories written in stone. In fact, in many ways, this should be just, it's a living document. It's always evolving. And that revamp doesn't need to at all stop at phase one of that. We can keep going. So if you feel there is a category missing on the landscape, probably the thing to do is to raise an issue on that CDF landscape repo. And we can start a discussion there. That would be a great way to go about it. And I'm really happy to continue that discussion with you as well. So you can ping me anytime, but keeping it open, keeping it on GitHub as an issue is great. And we can get feedback from more people. It's really good.
Awesome. No, I'll definitely do that. Yeah, and it was interesting because we had put in a bunch of work using something called QLang in particular to make a lot of these tools work together. So we had put a lot of thought into into the interoperability of a lot of these things. So we were interested in the topic for sure. We'd love to get more involved.
Okay. Did you say QLang?
Yeah.
That one.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
Which is in there. I can link it in the chat or in the notes if you want to take a look at some point.
Yeah, definitely
well.
add it to the notes. This is something I'd like to look at later too. And you're in the right place. I mean, especially with the concept of interoperability and getting these projects working together. And I don't know, this sounds to me like something that a larger group would be interested in listening to a presentation about. Would you be interested in presenting to this group?
Sure. Yeah, we'd be happy to.
Okay.
We have a couple of these that we've done. We're going to give 2 talks on this at the upcoming KubeCon also. But yeah, we do demos in this all the time, so we're pretty rehearsed in it.
Awesome.
Happy to show it off if you're interested.
Okay. Think about what dates. We meet the first and third Thursdays of every month. September 1st is taken, but let's get a date and put it on the calendar so we can get people that are interested in that topic to come. There might be some other outlets for you, especially if there's other SIGs that might be interested in this as well. We can put an advertisement in their channels to let them know that you'll be presenting here at the interoperability group. So you might get more attention that way as well.
Awesome. We'll do.
Excellent. I'm just going to add an action item to schedule a presentation. Just so we don't forget. Awesome. All right. Well, you're on the Slack and stuff, so please reach out anytime, any questions. We'll get that going. Is there anything else that has come up that we need to discuss today? Okay, I don't have anything either. I'll reach out to Justin too. I didn't hear from him from this meeting, so I'll find out if there was anything that he wanted to bring up and that we can continue on for next time. Other than that, have a lovely first part of your month here. I had to remind myself what the date was. This is how crazy it is. And we will see you again the next meeting in August.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.